Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, the 23rd of January, 2016, and I would like to do a report for Thursday and Friday for the Milab child trafficking operations. And on Thursday, 32 children were brought in by the CIA to the Pentagon, Milab, and they were abducted in 4 states: Indiana, Ohio, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. They were collected over a 4-day period and then taken to the Pentagon Milab, as I said. And all of them were killed by the now former new Attorney General. He wasn't around very long. I think maybe 12 days he was here. But he's been arrested. And what a process it's been over the past couple of days. And for yesterday, Friday, well, at first they had 107 children on Friday morning, and then by the end of the day they had 113 children, and 6 more were brought in by the CIA, and they were all taken from South Carolina. And the 107 children were brought in from Africa, and all of the parents had died from HIV. And 100% of those parents contracted HIV from vaccines, and which I've said for years that HIV can actually be easily healed from, not cured, because there's not going to be a cure, because they wouldn't create an illness just to turn around and give you the cure. They're making way too much money off of it, and they're killing too many parents with it, and then they get the children to take into their child trafficking program. And these children were taken to 6 locations in Crawfordsville, Texas. There were 19 children to celebrate the new 19 Bush clones, and also Andrew DiBagiago, who, as you know, in this country, the elections process is a complete sham, and everybody is chosen before people even vote. And it just saddens me to sit around and watch these people sometimes on TV, and they're just so hopeful with all these presidential candidates. Well, Jeb Bush, his clone number 14, and because the real Jeb Bush was arrested, and then Andrew Bagiago, who murdered another child last night. That was his 9th child that he murdered in Crawfordsville, Texas. Also at this party were 12 Secret Service men, 3 Texas State Troopers, and 18 members of the now clones. Well, a lot of them have been clones in the past, but because the 19 members of the Bush family have been arrested and removed, they're in Iran right now. And like I said, Bagiago and 18 Bush clone family members were the ones who killed the 19 children. In Roswell, New Mexico, Milab, 21 children were gang raped by 407 military males of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, NORCOM, SOCOM, AFRICOM, and it was 21 special ops people who killed the children, males who killed the children. In Washington, D.C., number 1 Milab, 18 children were gang raped by 9 senators, 3 House of Representatives, 14 Secret Service, Joe Biden, 12 Army males, and they were killed by 9 senators, Joe Biden, and 8 Army men. In Washington, D.C., number 2 Milab, 17 children were gang raped by 56 men of the CIA, FBI, NSA, TSA, DHS, Secret Service, and 3 D.C. policemen. And at the Pentagon Milab, 10 children were gang raped by 159 Pentagon employees, 159 Pentagon males, and then they were killed by 10 special ops, which I really don't know what special ops means, but that's what's listed in the DNA. And then Carson City, Nevada. Carson City, Nevada is a big Milab, and in this one, all the Milabs, the primary production is to produce temporals. And then they also work on biological and chemical weapons, And the child trafficking is actually number 4 on the list. But the Carson City is heavily into child trafficking because it's a major resort area. The Lake Tahoe, and yesterday, 28 children were gang raped by 123 corporate executives, 45 law enforcement officers, 13 politicians from California and Nevada, and 14 of these children were murdered by CEOs, and the other 14 children were killed by California Highway Patrolmen and Nevada State Police. And, like I said, the temporals are the ones that come into our homes, and it's been quite a process, because here, with me anyway, I don't know the whole story, but with me, what happens is they come in, I ask Father God to stun them or to bind them. And once they're bound, they can't move. And then I ask for the cords of light, which a cord of light comes from the inner star of Earth and Agartha up through, completely encompassing them. And then it continues on directly into the heart of Mother and Father God. And then I ask for the sacred fire. And the way I ask for it is, thank you for the sacred fire. Because it's much better to go to the end result rather than asking for something, because that puts what you're asking for off in the future somewhere. And what they have done to me is they have this thing called a package, which is 17 biological and chemical weapons. And since these new 63 ships have come in, just in the past couple of days, they've injected that into me 276 times. And there's also they have a package that is flu viruses, which are all produced at DARPA facilities, the Milabs. And they have a package where there's 45 different types of flu viruses, and they've injected those into me 41 times in the same time period. And then also there's this other thing that they do. It's going on with my leg, and I really don't understand it all yet, but it's from an electromagnetic weapon. And they have used this weapon on me 312 times, and because they really don't like me. And the reason is that once we stun the temporals, we go through, we transfigure them, and then we transmute their energy. And transfiguring them, it takes a process. Even though it's not my energy, the energy flows down from Father God and heaven. And a lot of times the angels will come in and push them all together into one little group. But it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. And then with all the chemicals and the weapons and all this other stuff they're doing, this is basically how I spend my whole day. And going through this over and over again. And at one point, they had lost the ability to produce the temporals. But when these 63 ships came in, thanks to the Hadron Collider being able to open these wormholes and bring in 100% reptilians from other places, that they restored the ability to create them. And so it's just on and on and on. And so sometimes they may create 3,000 or 4,000 temporals. Well, if they only come in maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 at a time, this process just repeats over and over and over and over again. But, the choice is to sit around, do nothing, and let them kill you, and then continue on with the child trafficking. And it's made a huge difference. The prayers have made a huge difference, because of the 63 ships that came in, even though they have the process to produce the temporals again, and they have temporals again, that everyone has been arrested. And each of the 100% reptilians, and I say that because a lot of people, like child rapist and child murderer Indiana Governor Mike Pence, is 58% reptilian. And most of the politicians who are really Nazi war criminals, just in different bodies, are 58% reptilian. A lot of them have a varying degree of amphibianism in there as well, and then the rest is human. A lot of them are like between 20 to 30 to 40% human. It's not an exact science. Each person it's exact, but I'm not saying that if you look at 150 people, they all have the exact same amount of DNA, because it just doesn't work that way. Everybody's individual. And I'd like to point out that if you suspect that you may have HIV, that get a blood zapper. Every healing is as unique as our own DNA, and HIV takes a different amount of time for everyone because none of us are in the same position. And but if your sacred light is really high, and let's say a DARPA employee comes into your home and injects you with HIV, I know they did this to me 185 times, and they would get so angry at me because right after they would leave, we would use the same healing energy that we're using on all these criminals. The HIV would just be immediately dissolved and removed from the body, and they would get really, really angry about that because, they don't want anyone to ever heal from HIV. They want to either kill people with HIV or they want to keep people on those drugs for the rest of their life. But the problem is that the drugs actually will kill you eventually too. And so, but thank you for your prayers. It made a huge difference. I haven't got a number yet on how many have just been arrested over the past 12 days, but I know for sure that the new Attorney General has been arrested, and I'm so glad to see him gone because he was, it's like heaven said, he made Hitler look nice. And thank you, and God bless your hearts.